Whatever happened to Bakasura? If you've already been playing this game at the end of Season 1, then you remember Bakasura being the undisputed king of the solo lane. He was strong, he had early aggression, he could take down enemies with ease at early levels of the game, and then snowball out of it and just destroy complete games and lanes on his own. So where did he go? In order to understand this, we first need to look at the recent guard releases. There are various guard releases over the past year that have plenty of escapes. Escapes are not good for Bakasura, who relies on sticking to his target for an extended period of time. But guards with escapes are by far not the biggest horror that Bakasura had to face this year. The scariest release by far was
Bologna.
That's right, Bologna. There's no god really scarier for Bakasura than Bologna, because her disarm completely takes away his potential to deal high amounts of damage while using his 3, and the only way to get out of this is his ultimate or using beats. If you use beats in order to cleanse yourself in order to auto-attack, that kinda sucks, you know. However, this was by far not the only change that affected Bakasura. Kinsai saw various nerfs, and while it's not necessarily a core item on him, it's still a very good item for him, and currently it's just not that great and can mostly not compete to crit all that well. Think we're done now? We're not. Hawk was also nerfed. Head of the Gods is one of the best items for Bakasura to clear early and aggress early because it allows him to stack his passive immediately. It's not a core item on him, but it used to be very good and it used to be kind of a helpful thing in the starting phase with Bakasura if you're still trying to figure out how to do things best. With that being nerfed, another problem comes up for him. And we're still not done. Hunter saw a nerf at the beginning of Season 2, which would have been good, but then turned out to be a buff in the end through various, circumstances that I'm not going to get into in detail now. Anyways, Bakasura naturally struggles a little bit against Hunters if he can't get up that early aggression, because in the late game they're just going to stomp him. And with them being stronger in the early game, a lot of his potential there has been taken away as well. And then there was also nerf to Bakasura's ultimate that no one really understood. It was just a little nerf to the damage of his minions. It just didn't make sense in the context because Bakasura was at that point not actually that scary anymore. And then there was yet another item nerf, which was Greater Sprint. Greater Sprint was very good for Bakasura before because it held him stick to his target regardless of the circumstances. With the attack movement speed reduction being back on that item, so not being allowed to auto-attack and not lose movement speed anymore, that's just not as good as well. This also had a direct impact for other characters using that item, meaning they're more likely to pick up Heavenly Agility now. And also, Weakening Curse was nerfed, so Heavenly is even stronger in that regard. And Heavenly is generally a good counter to Bakasura because it helps your whole team get away from his ultimate. Last but not least, there's the Bluestone Pendant buff. Bluestone is an item not very good on Bakasura, but good on many warriors, bringing the warriors back into solo lane. While Bakasura can generally handle most warriors with his true damage, they are now much better at clearing due to the Bluestone. Many warriors can nearly clear a lane early with only a few abilities and some auto attacks in between. And that brings us to the core of the problem. Bakasura's biggest flaw is that he's designed around minions in a game that is no longer designed around minions. He gets great benefits from killing minions, and therefore it takes a while for him to take them down. That would be totally fine if it wasn't for other characters not being on that same level of clear anymore, but instead clearing almost immediately, leaving him to clear the lane while the enemy can already aggress on him. Let's look at this in detail. He needs minions to stack up his passive, and this is part of the reason why he kinda went out of the jungle into the solo lane. There's no point in ganking if you need to kill 3 minions in the lane or in the jungle before you actually gank in order to get a proper gank done. The camps are usually too far away, and killing minions on lane would make it very obvious what he wants to do next. Then he also needs minions for his 2, and this is especially counterintuitive in late game when you have big team fights and hardly any minions around. You can't just heal up on your enemy player. Also, you need the 2 for his ult, especially in scenarios where you have a long death timer after getting killed, after using your ult, and your team is already pushing. You don't really have the time to stack your ult back up before coming back to the team fights or pushing. And then there's his ult. His ult is at least 50% his minions. Yes, he has a cripple and the slow, some CC immunity as well. But if you look at this in the actual game, Chark has the same amount of slow with nearly the same radius and he can walk around with it. Oh, and did I mention that Chark's ability is not an ult and also heals him, plus it can be put down in 2 places at the same time? Oh yeah. Well, so much about the slow. On top of that, his ult has got a delay, so you can probably predict where it's going and you're never going to end up in the middle of it. So by the time you get hit, the cripple duration or slow duration is actually going to be pretty short. So what's left? CC immunity, which is nice but almost a standard these days, and, well, the minions. Those very same minions are no stronger than lane minions though. So what does any half-decent enemy do? Either walk away from them or simply smash them by fighting Bakasura at the same time. Hey you, Bellona, talking about you. To sum it up, Bakasura has become the very definition of power creep and Smite. Not only power comes into play here, a change of playstyles plays an important role as well. At this point, it makes no sense to pick Bakasura over any hunter. They have the same potential throughout all stages of the game, with less downsides, especially late game. So how could this be fixed? There are multiple interesting approaches. For example, he could be able to eat archers again and spit them out after as ranged minions for himself. This used to be OP back then, but now it could actually be fine. What he will definitely need is more mobility to get his auto attacks off. Therefore, his passive probably needs to be changed, ideally not being reliant on minions, or minion kills especially. His 2 needs to be changed as well, and so does the interaction with his ultimate. 6 minions on a non-CDR based guard is way too much. However, Season 3 is upon us. As we can expect major changes with Season 3, I'm assuming Baka won't be seeing any big changes before that, as we don't have a balance patch anymore. It will just be adjusted when the new overall changes will be coming out, and it might just work in his favor.